I am joined by Amy Draheim, like playtime.
Oh, there you go.
She tells me, just so I can get it right, because
There
I'm
you go.
challenged. Owner, ABD Creative, and not ABC Creative.
Correct. We skip the C around here.
Okay. That's how you do it in Oregon, right?
That's how we do it.
Coming to us from Bend, Oregon. How are you?
I'm so good. I'm really good. The sun is shining. We're on the sunny side of the Cascades, so things are good. How about you?
That's good. I'm good. I actually watched an episode of Portlandia last night where they were chasing the sun because it was so hard to find.
Yes. Did they end up here? They probably did.
They were running around town when there was just a little spot of sun.
That's awesome.
Oh boy. So how about how have you been throughout this whole mess?
Gosh, how has the pandemic treated me? It's been great. Just kidding. That's a joke. It's been challenging, of course. You know, in the hospitality industry, the pandemic has been hard for all of us. Um, a year ago to the day, I was actually in La Paz, so it wasn't so bad at the very start. I was in La Paz, like swimming with whale sharks and hanging out on the side of a sand dune with a bunch of strangers. And, you know, thinking about that now, it's like an alternative universe. We came home on March 14th through the Seattle airport, and it was like entering, you know, the vortex. There were people in masks saying, "We reserve the right to test you." And my husband and I looked at each other and we're just like, where have we landed? Oh yeah. Like, you know, so it was like entering a new reality. We got home on the 15th. My husband's restaurant shut down. We have a restaurant and a couple of food trucks here. So his restaurant shut down, and I got a call from one of my biggest clients, and she said, "Amy, you know, we don't know what's happening, but our hotel needs to shut down, and we'll see you on the other side." The next day, another client called, "Our hotel needs to shut down. We'll see you on the other side." And another and another. And it's like they all just folded. By the end of the week, we looked at each other, my husband and I, and we said, we're in the same industry, and like we're screwed. Like, what the
Yeah.
hell, you know, what's next? Over the weekend, I thought about it, and I was like, hotels can't stop communicating right now. Now is not the time to shut our doors and go quiet and go dark. We need to keep communicating. So travelers, when the time comes to travel again, which at the time we didn't know if that would be 3 weeks or 5 weeks or 11 months or, you know, now 12 months. But they needed to know what was going on so that when they wanted and were ready to travel again, that they would be thinking about us so that we would be top of mind. And that's when I had the idea for my podcast. It was like, when will I have the time, the energy, and the focus to dive into podcasting? And so that's what I did. I created How to Share Podcast, and originally it started off as a hotel marketing podcast where I could help my hotels sort of feel their way through the dark, through the pandemic, and come out on the other side. So it started out very task oriented, like, okay, let's still communicate via email. Let's be creative in the middle of this crisis. And it was all these episodes. And I really felt like I had this sort of pinnacle moment of like, hospitality needs my voice, but it also needs the voice of other people. And now that I have this platform, let me bring on other women. So we had somebody come on and talk about PR. We had the Karajians come on and talk about the boutique hotel business and how it wasn't going anywhere. And then I started interviewing hoteliers, and with the Black Lives Matter movement sort of taking hold again, I started interviewing non-traditional hoteliers. And so in the middle of the pandemic, I was having these inspiring stories and hearing voices that I hadn't heard in our industry. And so it truly did turn things around for me, where things started to feel better. I started feeling hopeful myself. And then the other piece of this podcast was that it did increase my visibility as a hotel marketer. And so now coming out on the other side, I'm busy. I'm busier than I was a year ago, to be honest with you. So
Yeah. So you do have a strong focus on storytelling via social media channels, right?
Sure.
And
Yeah.
so and you just mentioned, I mean, hotels can't go quiet. They got to keep up. They got to keep in front of us, and we're all searching. We're all searching for some place to go.
Yeah.
Um, so where should they be? What channel should they be on?
So hotels should be absolutely on social media. And when it comes to channels, I'm not as much concerned as I am about the type of content that they're posting. And so the big thing on social, whether it's Instagram or TikTok or even LinkedIn, is video. So video is the future. Video is now. And all of these channels now have the ability to share video content instead of just static content. And we're seeing that video content perform 5 to 10 times better than static imagery alone. So if you're on Instagram, it's not, you can't follow the same rule book that you were following pre-pandemic or even 5 years ago, where it was, let's post five static photos 5 days a week. You're not going to see the same results because these social channels are now prioritizing video content. So it takes a lot.
That's difficult. Video, stories and video is exponentially more difficult than stories and photos.
And it's exponentially more powerful and more impactful. So we say what do we say? A picture is worth 1,000 words.
Yes.
So I would argue that a video is worth 10,000 words, maybe even more. So it's going to take 3 or 5 times as much effort and time to create video content. It's going to increase your visibility tenfold.
So do you have a good example of a client or someone you follow that's using video well?
Yeah. So one of my clients is Queen Kapolani Hotel in Waikiki on Oahu. And of course that hotel is, it's absolutely stunning. It's beachfront. The rooms have this incredible ocean view. So it's not hard to tell that story. And when we added sort of the video dimension, we have great engagement as it is. A static post, our most recent static post had 450 likes on it. That's great, right? And people are sharing it. People are saving it because they're planning their trip. They want to travel again. Our video post, so I just told you 450 likes. Our first video that we shared at the start of this year got over 4,000 views. So 10x, right? It's unbelievable.
And that's on Instagram?
It's on Instagram. It's literally just shot on an iPhone. So we're not talking about bringing in the videographer. We're not talking about a cinematographer. We're not storyboarding this stuff. We're just saying, let's think like the customer walking into the guest room, pan across the room, step out on the balcony, pan across, we see Diamond Head. You can't beat that view. Diamond Head, the Pacific Ocean. And then when you put that out there, people experience it in a different way than a static image.
So I think the key, I love the video piece because I've been on board for a couple of years now.
Okay, good.
But the key is putting yourself in the guest's shoes. When
Absolutely.
you write that story or when you film whatever it is you're filming, if you're putting yourself in the guest's shoes, you're going to win.
Yeah. And you don't need to be the only person speaking for your property. Let them speak for you. And that's, the idea of user-generated content, it's incredibly powerful. So if your marketing budget is still cut, if you don't have a marketing team on property, but you have guests coming, and it doesn't necessarily have to be an influencer, it can just be a regular person, they're very likely sharing their experience on social media. So you go and you ask permission and then you use that content on your channel. Somebody else saying that the hotel is amazing speaks louder than you saying it about yourself, right?
Agreed. So with the time we have remaining, that was some good advice. Do you have any more good advice for hoteliers?
Oh, I'm full of it.
You're full of it, or?
Yeah. One other group that I work with, Hawkins International, is a public relations firm who combines what they do in PR in social media, or what they do with PR for their clients and social media, because they've realized over the past year and even before that is that these two worlds are inextricably linked. So social media is this powerful tool where you can have your guests sharing your stories. It's like guest reviews on steroids, right? And so how do we harness that? Because people are listening, people are spending their time on social media. So those guest reviews that are happening on social, whether it's an influencer or a regular person, are extremely valuable. So how do we leverage that? So now PR is coming in and sort of negotiating that and making social part of their strategy. That's how big social media has become.
Yeah, I agree. Well, thank you for joining me, Amy. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thank you.